We're talking about parallel structure questions today, how to identify them, how to strategize around them, and how to answer them quickly. That was a little parallel structure right there. Now, you'll see 1 to 2 of these on your official SAT, and what they ask you to do is maintain the same structure across a list of items. So it'd be incorrect to say Mahmoud likes pottery, portraiture, and to go hiking. Instead, we'd match to go hiking with the 2 other items in the list. So we could cross off to go to turn that infinitive just into a participle so that it behaves like a noun, like pottery and portraiture, or we could just, get rid of hiking altogether and turn it into the straight ahead noun, hikes. Mahmoud likes pottery, portraiture, and hikes. We're looking for lists of 2 or more items, and they can be most parts of speech, verbs, adjectives, nouns, prepositional phrases. The key is to make sure that the items in the list share the same structure and function. So that means if you see a list with 2 nouns and a verb, you'll want to change that verb to a noun. If you see a list with multiple verbs, they should all be conjugated in the same tense. The one that always catches me up is lists with phrases and independent clauses. For parallel structure, they need to be all one or all the other. So it's not parallel to say, my 2 favorite activities are baking pizza, and I also love making tofu from scratch, right? Because this is an independent clause, and this is just a phrase. The way to fix this and make it parallel would be to get rid of that comma and remove everything up to making, so we just have 2 verb phrases. My 2 favorite activities are baking pizza and making tofu from scratch. Now that we have a sense of what these questions can look like, let's take a look at the passage, and I'll give you a few top tips to approaching parallel structure questions strategically. So we're looking at question 4. They don't require physical storage space, they don't need to be photocopied and collated, and they are less likely to be physically misplaced. So the first tip here is to focus on what we can change, on what the underlined portion allows us to change. Here it's just 2 words, they are. Let's try to identify the parallel structure present here. What's the pattern? Here's what I see. They don't, they are. So I'm seeing they, verb, they, verb, they, verb. If I could change are to don't, if that were an option, that's what I'd go for. But otherwise, this feels parallel to me. So let's go over to the choices and ask ourselves, do they feel more parallel than they are? Do they match that they verb pattern? All right, so choice A is they are, that's no change. Let's ignore that for now. We've got choice B, because they are, which introduces this new element, so that's not parallel. We've got being, which changes the conjugation from a simple present conjugation to a participle, so that's also not parallel. We've got delete the underlined portion, which would change it to they don't require physical storage, they don't need to be photocopied and collated, and less likely to be physically misplaced. That's not parallel because it doesn't repeat the they verb structure established by the first 2 list items. This is a list of 3 clauses, and we need to maintain that clause structure. So I'm going to cross that off. And the answer is A, no change. The second top tip we like to apply to parallel structure questions doesn't apply here. So let me start with a fresh screen. Top tip number 2, avoid unnecessary repetition. My colleague Corey came up with this example of an error. The trapezist soared through the air with speed, grace, and with precision. So the word with comes before the rest of the list, so the one that comes before the word precision can be taken out. If you can find elements in the underlined portion that feel redundant, that's a great way to quickly knock out a choice. So let's review. Your strategy for parallel structure questions is 1. Learn to identify the patterns that establish parallel structure, making sure that all items in a list share the same grammatical structure and function. 2. Make a prediction about what would best maintain parallelism, and then check your prediction against the choices. 3. Focus on what you can change. The prediction that you're going to make is constrained by which parts of the sentence are underlined. And 4. Seek out unnecessary repetition. If you see redundancy in a choice, strike it.